Okay. Oh, I don't have sound. That's important. Okay, it's gonna give me a second to get this all set up. I apologize. This is sorry. Okay, is this better? Hopefully this sounds better now. I apologize. Okay, with that out of the way, hello, ladies and gentlemen of Vanderbilt, and welcome to Terrier Talk. This is episode 16. I would say there's a lot to talk about. There isn't a lot to talk about. There are important things to talk about, but there is not a lot of content to discuss. So we're going to go ahead and go right into it. Happy Easter to everyone. Hope you had a good vacation. Hope your vacation continues. Of course, we get the next week off for school. So just going to go ahead and go right into it. So I'm actually going to do something a little bit different with the big four things that happened this week than normal. So I guess, okay, excuse me. First of all, the regional meets, I think, for boys golf happened. I actually do not know the result of that. I apologize, but I am aware that it happened. So if that's all, so good luck. Great job to those boys. And then I think they continue on next week. Or district was last week, and then regional is this week. So get that out of the way. So softball, baseball, track. Let's talk about those. And instead of going sport by sport, I'm going to go in chronological order because it explains a little bit better exactly my experience in this. So starting on Tuesday, we had softball playing St. Thomas More, and we had the boys in their first of two games in that big matchup against E.D. White, the Holy War. So on Tuesday, with softball unfortunately got crushed in that game against St. Thomas More. It was a chess match. It was a game of wits, as I talked about with Leah last week, and it was a game of wits that St. Thomas More won pretty handily. So for whatever reason, St. Thomas More won. Congratulations to them. But of course, great job to our girls for their great season. And I hope they can continue on into next season and have a very successful one. So great job to them. Baseball against E.D. White, that first game. I was not able to make that game in Thibodaux, and E.D. White won 4-0. So what happened from what I've heard, E.D. White had their ace, I think, at the very least, their best pitcher on the mound, and he threw a great game. Now, that's not to take anything away from, I think it was Josh Shelley throwing on Tuesday. He had a really good game, too. I mean, to think about holding a team that averages almost 10 runs a game to 4 runs is really impressive. It just doesn't look that great compared to the shutouts that the opponent threw. So it's a 4-0 game. It doesn't look that bad against an undefeated team, but it is what it is. So Wednesday was a very busy sports day for Vanderbilt, of course, having the district track meet and then having the home game Holy War against the 27-0 E.D. White Cardinals. Beginning with the track meet, I threw shot puts. I did not do very well, but I still threw. I came back about 2 innings into the game. I'm going to go ahead and talk about track first, though. So track, the girls had a great performance, putting up over 200 points, winning by 80 points, I think it was, against E.D. White, or I guess it was 60 points. We put up about 220. E.D. White put up about 160. So great job to our girls, absolutely crushing the competition and winning district as always. The boys, you could take the boys' performance in one of two ways. You could take it in the negative way, the glass half empty way of we didn't win. We lost to E.D. White. That's never good. We had a few really bad situations. I know some of the throwers, not all of the throwers. James Thompson, for example, he scored 4 shot puts, and that's the first time I've been throwing for shot put for a few years now. That's the first time I've witnessed a Vanderbilt boy score, so that's great for him. He's not going to be able to go to regionals, but he still had a really good performance. But I know a couple of other events had some mistakes. The 4x2 relay team, if I recall correctly, had a disaster. They got DQ'd. So you could look at all that and say, okay, that's bad. All these bad things happened. We didn't win. Or when we lost, we kind of got blown out by 80. We lost by about 50 points. Or you can look at that glass half full side. And I think it's a much better way to look at it. Despite all of anything that could go wrong, everything that went wrong during that day, we still pulled through, finished ahead of the pack, and placed second. We beat, I think it was, I don't remember which teams it was, but the next 2 teams, I think it was like South Lafourche and South Terrebonne, or South Lafourche and maybe Morgan City. I don't remember. No, I don't think Morgan City did Royal, but beside the point. We placed second, beating the next 2 teams by 3 points and 6 points, respectively. Despite everything that happened, we still pulled through in the end. We still did everything we could, and we succeeded in beating district rivals. Most of them, we placed second, and that is still a very good performance for us. I didn't have a chance to look at exactly who is going to regionals, but I think it's a decent number, a very high number for girls. I think we won like half of the events or something like that, or 13 of the 19 events. So obviously we're going to have a bunch of people going to regionals. For the boys, I think we're going to have a decent, some people going to regionals. So of course, good luck to all of those players. So I finished the shot put, got home, and went to the game. 2 innings in. I can't tell you about what happened in those first 2 innings except for the box score. We were winning 2-0 going into the top of the third. So, what happened in that game? It was great. It was simply great to watch. The crowd was electric. That's the first thing that I noticed. The crowd was huge. It was the biggest crowd for a baseball game all season at the Buck. It was the entire bleachers were full. Every single seat was filled. And it was standing room only along, not the dugout, but like between the dugout and the bleachers. Standing everywhere. And in left center field, you had a bunch of students watching from there. I mean, it was electric. It was great. The crowd was on fire all night. The other interesting thing is, and this isn't unique just to baseball, and it isn't surprising, but it wasn't like overwhelmingly Vanderbilt. It was like 60-40. You had, in the bleachers at the very least, it was pretty much even. 80 white people on the announcers left, so like towards 80 White's dugout, and you had Vanderbilt people, Vanderbilt fans towards Vanderbilt's dugout. Outside of that, it was pretty much overwhelmingly Vanderbilt and other portions of the bleachers of the fan base, but it was not like crazy high Vanderbilt. But going into the game, third inning, I get to watch Brendan Hamner. Of course, Brendan Hamner is the person he was one of the 2 people on a couple of weeks ago, and he was on the mound. He was one of the 4 people during this game that put together an amazing star-making performance. He was on the mound, almost pitched the entire game through 6 2/3 innings, gave up 1 run, 3 hits. Absolutely amazing performance. He burned them for 4 innings. I saw the top of the third. I saw the top of the fourth. There was nothing. It was, like I said, it was 3 hits through 6 2/3 innings. He got 20 outs and only 3 hits. Absolutely great performance. Only 1 error as well. Amazing performance from Brendan Hamner. The second great thing that happened, I think it was in the bottom of the third. Jean-Luc Lapierre had just he had a really good day overall, but specifically what he did in the bottom of the third inning is remarkable. So he starts out, I don't think he was. I don't think he was leadoff here. I think. I'm trying to think. I think he was actually leadoff for the bottom of the third. Hits, goes towards shortstop. It should be a traditional just ground out, but he outruns the throw and turns it into a single. Amazing hits. Such a hustle play. It was so remarkable to watch. And then steal. I think it was 2 steals, and then he got to home by himself. Basically, no other hit happened before he got to home. I think at the very least, but it was basically all hustle, stealing bases, all hustle and speed for him to get to home base, and it was amazing to watch. The third amazing performance came later on in that inning, as well as later in the game, from the batting performance of senior Colby Dufresne. It's kind of hard to argue that Brendan Hamner shouldn't get player of the game for his great performance on the mound, but there's something special about what happened to Colby here. So Colby, he's a senior, of course. This will be it actually ends up being his last home game at Vanderbilt. We thought that we would play Terrebonne the next day. That game actually got canceled. So it did end up being, I think, the last regular season home game at Vanderbilt. So his last time playing there, maybe the biggest game of his career, playing against, or at least one of the most important games, playing against the undefeated cross district rival, 14.3 miles down the road, the Dirty Birds, playing them an undefeated version of that team and turning out an amazing performance on the bat, in the batter's box. Bottom of the third, after John Luke scores, he scores a 2-run home run and puts together a 3-run inning for the Terriers. We go from up 2-0 to up 5-0. Bottom of the fourth rolls around. Of course, I don't think it was 3 strikeouts, but it was, a relatively short top of the fourth. Getting into the bottom of the fourth, they switch pitchers. They switch to a lefty. His last name, I think, was Robichaux, or it was something like that. But beside the point, switch to a lefty, and he still manages to give up a run. We kind of squeaked one by there in the bottom of the fourth inning. Top of the fifth, we start getting so it's 6-0 at this point. Top of the fifth inning, and something concerning happens regarding Brennan. So after those first 4 innings, like I said, Brennan had an amazing performance for those first 4 innings. Getting into the top of the fifth, he started to slow down a little bit. He started to struggle. He started to try to work through this great Edie White lineup. And he did it valiantly. It was a great performance from him. He looked amazing doing it. But it was tough. We could see his arm wearing down and see him struggle. I think he gave up the run here. I forgot if it was in the 5th or 6th, but I'm pretty sure it was in the 5th inning, the top of the 5th inning. He gives up the run here. We fall 6-1. And then the scary part, the bottom of the 5th inning, is a 6-pitch, 3-up, 3-down inning. And we're right back to the top of the 6th with very little break for Brendan Hamner going into that inning. And as a fan, even up 5 runs, I was scared, because this is an Edie White team. It doesn't matter that's at Vanderbilt. It doesn't matter that we're going to be playing with the heart of a lion here. An amazing performance. We knew we were going to go in there. I said it last week. In that situation, in that environment, we're going to go out there and perform at our best to beat Edie White at home. Despite that, this Edie White team is great. And after 5 innings of only 1 run given up, and with such a little break going into that 6th inning, I was scared for Brennan. I thought this game wasn't over at this point. Brennan instead pulls a shutout in that top of the 6th inning. We could see the arm was slowing down, but he gets out of it relatively easily. I think there was 1 runner left on base, but it was still a great situation. It's still a great position, and it showed the valiance of Brennan's arm and his will, his fortitude, how well he threw there in that top of the 6th inning. In the bottom of the 6th, quite possibly going into that situation, are probably the last time we'd have a chance to at that before trying to close in the top of the 7th. And it was fireworks. What happened? There was a run scored early on, so we thought, great, we can extend the lead to 7-1. And then Colby Dufresne steps up. And Colby Dufresne with 2 runners, I think they were both in scoring position. Runners on second and third, hits it out of the park. 3-run home run, 5 RBIs for Colby, outside of maybe even another one in the second inning. I don't know what happened in the second inning. 5 RBIs for Colby Dufresne. Great performance for him. And what a way to go out in his final regular season home game. Maybe his final time playing Edie White. More on that in a second. Lead extends to 10-1. 2 outs into the top of the 7th. Brennan, he's struggling. I don't know exactly what the rationale was behind him getting pulled, but I would assume that it was completely understandable. I don't know exactly what happened, but game got finished. We end up winning 10-1, and it was a great performance for all the Terriers. Eli Hebert, I also want to mention, had it was a very impressive play, throw out to second. I think it was in that 6th inning, part of getting out of the scariest inning of the game for Brennan, that top of the 6th inning. So a great performance from Eli, great performance from Jean-Luc Lepere, 2 freshmen that are going to be here for another 3 years. And then, of course, the great performance on the mound from Brendan Hamner, and in the batter's box from Colby Dufresne. All 4 men, all deserve accolades. Brendan got Parker Honda Player of the Week, completely deservingly. And Edie White, the Dirty Birds 14.3 miles down the road, got handed their first loss of the season. This is huge. This means so much for the landscape of going into the playoffs, for the landscape of bragging rights, in everything regarding Edie White and Vanderbilt sports, and the sports in our division in general. Because they're not 28-0. They're not undefeated, trying to complete an undefeated season. They have that 1 loss. No matter what happens from here on out, they have that 1 loss. They split the series against their rivals. And the thing is, a rubber match is completely possible. And it would be something that I would be so excited for. We know they're still 2 of the most on-fire teams in the entire state and in their playoff bracket, of course. We've won 16 of 18 now. They've won 27 of 28, even with that loss. So it's completely believable that we could meet at some point in the bracket, in the state championship bracket, or in the same division, or in the same playoff bracket, and we could meet. It's completely possible. The bracket is not out yet, which is very annoying for the placement of this video. The bracket's not out yet. It's going to be out tomorrow, so we don't know exactly where we could possibly meet. Maybe it's the semis, maybe it's the finals. But either way, I would love to see a rubber match. Split the games. I want to see it. If it could be at a neutral site, if it could be in the finals, that would be amazing. But either way, I want to see a 3rd game between these 2 teams, because it was fireworks to watch. It was amazing to watch. And to see it again, possibly, I would love to see it. That was the meat of this video, because there's not that much else to say in preview. The only 2 things that will be happening next week are the release of the brackets for state playoffs that we just talked about, as well as the regional track meet, which I touched on already. So that's basically everything. Obviously, I want to see what happens there, and whoever we end up playing in baseball, hopefully we can move on and beat whoever we get through, whoever we get to. And I think this team could make a run in the state, maybe even state semis, maybe even state finals. Winning 16 of their last 18 games, co-district champions, that's so important. Winning 16 of the last 18 games is not easy, and it's extremely impressive. And that means you can go anywhere going into the state finals, in the state championship. So we're waiting that. They'll probably have their first round game this week as well. So hopefully we'll be able to win. It probably should be a relatively easy matchup. I don't know exactly where the bracket lines up there. And then also the regional track meet. I want to say there's a girl in every event for girls, and boys have a few people at the very least as well. So good luck to all of those players. I wish everyone the best of luck going into next week. Hope everyone had a happy Easter, and I will see you guys next week. Same time, same channel. See ya.